Hi Gautam. Audible.
Hi Kiran, how are you doing?
Doing very well. Uh, Gautam, thank you for joining in for our Dialogues at the Helm session. Wanted to introduce you to the audience, if you don't mind. Can you share a little bit about yourself and what Jaggery and Meaningful Design Foundation do?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting us to be a part of your dialogues program. And I represent a company, an organization called Jaggery Reimagining Waste. We are India's first certified upcycle bag manufacturer. Jaggery merges circular design with social equity. And our model transforms end of life materials like car seat belts, parachutes, cargo belts into uh, quality, high fidelity, durable products like bags, accessories, camping gear.
Like this one that you gifted me a couple of years back. I still
Yeah,
have it.
exactly. Like the one with the British Airways cargo belts. And the idea is that we blend circularity with social impact. We are convinced that the circular economy can unlock massive opportunities for disadvantaged people in India, and especially the bottom of the pyramid communities. And we kind of pride ourselves on the fact that each product is a conversation between innovation and impact. So that's how we approach our work. And we started our journey in 2018 while we had been researching on the particular idea, much earlier than 2018. But it's essentially in June of 2018 when we took the plunge and set up the organization uh, and just started walking down the path that we are currently on, and we are convinced that this is the right path to be walking on, and we're very
You have
excited
a
to.
very interesting background also. I feel like you've done design, you've done lots of different creative roles, and
Yeah,
like you've honed yourself and entered
very true.
the with the social enterprise market. Do you mind sharing a little bit about the genesis of this curiosity? Like, where did you start looking at waste and waste to value? Where did this click for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to take you back a few more years, and like what is the thought process that kind of instigated this sort of chain reaction of creative experiments in my career. I as a kid, we are obviously, our first line of influence uh, is our parents and our immediate relatives and all of that. So, borrowing from what my dad went through as somebody who worked in physics as a physics professor in JNU. But before that, he had a life where he had already been a army person. So he's working with the Corps of Engineers, and he retired from army. He took the voluntary retirement, and this would nudge us into asking questions. Why is it that you did this? And so he said that this is not the only transition that I've had in my life. I'm one of the few people who cracked the UPSC and did not end up taking the next steps, right? So I was like, as a kid, I didn't even realize the value that we lay on UPSC and cracking it into the administrative services of the country. But obviously, it kept coloring my perception over the years that it is possible for you to design your own career, right? And not just generally uh, stay the course if you found a breakthrough. So that I asked my dad one time, why is it that what is it that inspired you to make these changes? And he quoted Javed Akhtar to me, that there was a time when Javed Akhtar, he's borrowing from and not making it very heavy. We all know who Javed Akhtar is and what he's done for the cinema of the country. So, in one of his interviews, he said that everybody has a creative void, right? And especially creative people have a creative void, and not everyone realizes that there is a void in them. And for some people, that void, you can fill that void with one or two life experiences or activities, but for others, it takes their entire lifetime to fill that void, right? So we feel that, both my dad and I are strong proponents of the latter, right? It's a lifelong pursuit of happiness, right? I've had interesting things that I've been lucky that I was a part of. I've gone to film school in the US. We've taken a independent feature to Cannes. Was lucky enough that I also worked with Time Warner AOL in a very different capacity as a UI UX designer. And so this is all in the US where I got my master's in fine arts. But closer to home in India, when I moved back from the US, I did pick up a slew of engagements in the UI UX design capacity, and one of them was to work with a German e-commerce company, Jabong. And while I was doing all of this, I was always reminded of the time that I spent in Auroville during my architecture days. Uh, I'm an architect and a certified one from University of Pune. And during our architecture, before you complete it, there's an internship component. So for my internship, I went to Auroville, which is where I was exposed to a lot of sustainable and circular practices, which weren't even called circular back then. I'm talking about the turn of the century around circa 2000. And the experiences that I had there working with the Center for Scientific Research and my mentor of that time, Suhasini Iyer, stayed with me all along, throughout my career. And so some of those practices that I saw, permaculture and creating, minimizing waste, being very resource efficient in your day-to-day lives and not just in the work that you do, are things that I tend to practice on a daily basis. And what we are doing now, Jaggery, is, I must say, also inspired a lot by the time that I spent in Auroville and got to closely experience and engage with the different activities of a community. And in fact, our Catalyst Now participation is also in one way attributed to that, the value that we lay on other people and the experiences that they bring to a collective are very important for me. So, I mean, I can go on. It's a interesting topic for me, but let me know when you pause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the main problem that you're trying to solve, and I love this about Jaggery, but for the audience, which is on the systemic level, big picture, and how it then translates to on the ground, right? So I'm asking for helicopter view or satellite view, and then I'm asking for ground view in terms of what are you trying to solve through your work. So at a macro level and then at a ground level.
Yeah. So if you look at it, the question is that why would one want to collaborate with Jaggery? So we have different verticals that we managed to come up with. At the one level, you're solving for high level waste problems, right? We work predominantly with waste materials and fuse a new lease of life into them to create products that may not have existed before their particular manifestation through the Jaggery process. And the fact that they've been mobilized by the bottom of the pyramid communities for whom there aren't many opportunities to gain regularized livelihoods and get to the next stage in life, I think is what our model in a nutshell is. So um, you know we are we have positioned ourselves at the intersection of climate action and social equity. So now the question, what is it that in concrete terms people can do to collaborate with us? So we have various verticals. So for instance, if there's somebody from from the corporate sustainability world, CSOs and whatnot, we offer them the proposition that these end products, because it has to be looked at from an objective lens, offer a high design, high impact gifting solutions which are made from upcycled materials, right? The second is that procurement practices like the social procurement network that we are a part of with various other organizations from across the world will help align the corporate sustainability officers, leaders from an ESG and SDG perspective, right? And this also aligns with their CSR objectives.
And you're
And
bringing traceability to this whole supply chain
Yeah,
also.
exactly. That's the next point that I was about to make. So we share product-specific digital passports, right, which are with traceable story of the waste diverted and livelihoods generated with, empirical beneficiary profiles and actual, stories of the beneficiaries who we've impacted, included in that traceability framework. And this can take its own life through agentic AI and blockchain technology, which is something that we are developing in parallel. So this is the first vertical, this the corporate sustainability offices. Then you look at the procurement teams and CSR heads, right? So uh, they have access to India's first certified bag manufacturer. We were certified last year by the Textile Ministry, and after a vetting process and an audit. This is something that they started as a program last year to certify circular makers, because they understand the challenges that we face are threefold, right? Like there's a product that you need to convince people with. You should be able to explain the social and the environmental impact, and it's a very challenging task if you look at it from a day-to-day, going on of and the flow of things. So, to co-create branded collections is something that we feel through our circular design system appeals a lot to the CSR heads. And then in real time, if you're able to track and communicate the impact through these digital passports, for instance, metrics like landfill diversion, CO2 emissions, CO2 savings, artisan credits, the life of their next generation, how is that impacted, financial literacy, access to healthcare. All these aspects are
Direct and
indicate
indirect, direct and
yeah,
indirect.
indirect and direct indicators that we've incorporated in our work. Now, the third vertical is that designers, artists, and architects, right? So, architects, this community of creative practitioners who we are active members of, of these various communities, they can source an ever-evolving palette of rescued materials from us, like seat belts that I mentioned earlier on, airbags, old tires, end of life vehicle waste. It could be metallic waste, it could be textile waste, uniform textiles, and much more, right? This also lends itself very nicely to the crafts, because one area that a lot of crafts evangelists don't talk about is the waste that is generated and the dead stock that is, that the crafts and the artisanal communities of India in every state have at their disposal, right? So we've also tapped into that through some of our unique programs. Then the next is to explore co-branded products or artistic installations with our design out of waste methodology. And earlier this year, we were commissioned by HCL Foundation to create a unique art installation at their flagship event in Noida. So there are similar examples that are coming up, with the Saksham Foundation is a school for the underprivileged kids. We partnered with them to create an art installation of a cycle shed. So using our materials and involving the community and especially the student body to create this permanent installation that also serves a double purpose of saving their bikes from the elements. The next is non-profit sector, schools and circular champions. So this vertical we partner with skill, organizations that have an identified need to create better livelihoods for the bottom of the pyramid communities, and we work with various organizations in India that are helping the waste worker communities get to the next level in life, and a lot of community-led hubs. And this also kind of brings into the fore our storytelling tools that are unique to us, that through which we are able to bring circular thinking into classrooms and communities. Academia is an important part of who we feel are in our stakeholder ecosystem. It's very
Very
important
interesting.
to continue sharing our learnings and creating new models with the students, design students, fashion film students today, because all these touch points are very strong storytelling touch points that we believe through a social enterprise some measure of uh, you know uh, behavior change can also be brought about. But we know that it's a daunting task, and we are setting ourselves up for a 15 to 20-year challenge, as opposed to a more immediate and a venture capital funded challenge, which would have different objectives. So then you come to the point that how is it that one can collaborate with us? I just took you through why collaborate with us, but what are the touch points that one can utilize depending on the background that you come from? So the collaboration type of branded merchandise, and the opportunity here is to customize bags and uh, kits using circular materials. The impact that we deliver through branded merchandise is, waste diversion and dignified jobs created. Then you come to the second collaboration type, which is workshops and events. Is this okay in the format?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So then there's a collaboration type two, workshops and events, where we co-host upcycling sessions with artisans and students and community, like the one that I was mentioning to you earlier with Samuhika Shakti in Bangalore. The impact delivered here is sustainability education, and in one sense not necessarily passing the baton, but rallying the troops as you also explore uncharted territories. Then the third collaboration type is interior and architectural projects, furniture utilizing waste material. Like, for instance, we work with pine wood that the Toyota and Maruti engines come packed in, and those are also single-use pallets, right? So the pallet wood lends itself to not necessarily load-bearing furniture, but elements in the interiors that could be, that could open a new model for the creative practitioners, especially architecture and design, displays, installations from decommissioned materials. And the impact that we are able to deliver here is public engagement. Make them kind of pause in their tracks and think about their own life choices and things of that nature. The fourth category of collaboration possibilities with us is sustainable gifting. Curated sets, hampers for conferences, teams, campaigns. And the impact that we are able to deliver here is giving design with good and giving with social and environmental impact. Then you look at the fifth collaboration type is circular supply chain pilots, right? So we partner with, this would help us scale, and we would be able to partner with organizations like government agencies and bodies like NIUA, which will help us scale our waste to value supply chains for textiles, in ELVs, aviation, shipping, hospitality, railroads, sports, and entertainment as well. And I may have shared a pilot that's in the pipeline with IPL with you sometime in the past. So
Ooh.
building circular supply chain pilots, and through the activities and engagement, the impact that we are able to deliver is shared innovation and traceability and better
Hmm.
standards of living for all concerned, right? So yeah, I mean, this why
I mean,
should
like
one?
it's so interesting to observe, Gautam, because like you're both on the hybrid front. You have an enterprise which is a for-profit. You've got a non-profit that supports the artisan layer, the entire deep work that is required, some of this social impact component, which is for the influencing of different stakeholders in your society. You're doing direct to consumer. You're doing B2B. You're
Yeah.
tapping into like for like what I feel is like sustainability is not like a single domain expertise. I think it's a multitude of disciplines that come together, and you're such a lovely example of a growing interest, and you were well ahead of the curve when you started, and I think the curve is catching up to you, and for that we wish you all the very best for
Thank you so
all the
much.
success. And
Appreciate
the
it.
sheer metrics of like one of my questions that I ask speakers here is, what role does partnerships play, or what significance does partnership hold for the work and the journey? And you've already elaborated so much to it, so I'm not gonna ask you to double up on that answer. I think it's fairly self-understood.
Yeah.
I wanted to also take the moment to draw upon some of the insights. Like we've known each other for about 4 years,
Yeah.
and in that time period, we met in this Catalyst retreat, and like I got very impressed, and then we've met a couple of times, we've interacted, and I've kind of noted your trajectory since then. You've been on this upswing, and I've seen you close really interesting partnerships with. I think you work with Mercedes, you work with some other automobile partners, you've explored so many different industries, and your ability to be versatile in this, to think for profit in for profit situations, to think non-profit in non-profit situations, to think about the community impact, to think about the public consumer level accountability, to manage all these stakeholders. Like the sheer effort in the design of this, obviously it wasn't like built in a day, but in many ways it's a constant evolving and very
Yeah.
dynamic nature of doing work, which I think is something that I would love for people to know, that if you're thinking social entrepreneurship, this is what it looks like. Because it's so
Yeah.
difficult to break away from the narrative. Oh, so you sell bags. It's like it's so reductive to summarize it in such a I guess a consumer capitalist terminology and
Exactly.
brushstroke
Reductionist
terminology.
terminology, but that's not how we approach it, Kiran. Yeah, I think you said it very succinctly, like you always do. So yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to interject you, but is there a
No, no,
what like?
no.
Yeah. So the power
It's
of
just
power.
a observation comment.
No, thank you, Kiran. I really appreciate it, and I think there's not a single boring day in our lives. We're three founders of the organization, and if I take all the credit for what we are doing, and if you look at what credit is, that's also something that somebody else's nomenclature of understanding things. We just enjoy the process, and like I one of the things that I don't necessarily share with other people, and I haven't ever shared this with other people, is that we don't have a plan B, right? So this plan A is the main thing, and we have to just roll up our sleeves every day and make sure that we make it work, right? It has to work, and that's the only way we approach our work. Is that when you're really committed to something that, and you're very drawn to something, then why do you need a plan B, right? Like if you are putting in your best effort, then the forces around you will align themselves to make sure that you succeed in your mission.
पर आपने
And
भी कसर नहीं छोड़ी है ना आपके मेहनत का तो कोई कसर नहीं बाकी.
हाँ, मैं तो यार देखो, I just roll up my sleeves, and somebody had kind of I was talking to someone just a few days back, and they were asking me ki, how can you manage like showing up at so many different places and platforms, and yet feel positive about the work that you're doing? Why aren't you cribbing? So I was like, there's nothing to crib about, right? This is a career that I've designed for myself. I'm not I don't see myself. I never was cut out for a corporate job. But having done there, been there, done that, and having experienced that, I can say that I will, if I was given an opportunity to choose between a corporate life or a life of a social entrepreneur in India, I would choose this, with the blink of an eye, right? Like I wouldn't think about it twice, because it's so rewarding. The people that you meet, and the energy that you share with people, and you meet all sorts of people, but out of every 100 people, you do meet 10, 15 people who feel like they're kindred spirits, and you feel that in itself, that conversation has made that moment possible and a success, right? So the definition of success and definition of what growth is, what traction is a very individual and a very uh, subjective thing, So I was lucky that I grew up in the kind of household that I grew up in, with free thinkers and intellectuals around me, and I was able to, not kind of clip my wings at an early age, and I had many options. I could have settled down in the US. I could have settled in Oroville, but I didn't do that because I felt that there was something still missing for me to experience. So laying value on the experiential nature of life and work, and uh, not having there be a firm line between the two, has its. I mean, it can be a boon and a bane. You also need a life partner in that believes in your vision, and likewise for you. You have to support your life partner and your family, and as we're all aging, and it's that time of our phase in life where our work needs us, our families need us, and our friends also need us, right? So compartmentalizing each, or do you just go with the flow, not have a rigid structure or a framework, making distinctions between the three aspects of life, is again a very personal thing. And So far so good. I would like to touch wood here and just make sure that it continues for a few more years. But I feel that it's really like the sustainability tailwinds are so big in India and globally that there will soon be a time where verticalization of different aspects will happen, and we may also have to go with the flow then when that happens, and pick a particular niche or a subject matter expertise within circularity and sustainability. That is not necessarily the case right now, but once the dust, so to speak, settles down, we'll all have our and niche areas that we'll be talking about. So hopefully, then if we, there won't be this much of
Or
distraction in
maybe
my.
you might make two or three organizations focused on very different aspects, all sister concerns. I think
Yeah, correct.
diversification could happen, but as of now, you built the mothership and small
As
little
of now, we are
outposts
focused on
everywhere.
the mothership. Amazing. Yeah, that just puts it so nicely in perspective. That is the idea.
Absolutely. I think in
Yeah.
the entrepreneur segment, we call it the hub and spoke model in the development space.
Yeah.
But yours is not the traditional. It's not like a company owned, company operated setup everywhere, right? Like everything belongs to one identity. It is so dynamic, and that's what I love about what you do. And in fact, that's the reason why I have my last question for you. Since Helm is turning 8, we also wanted to reflect a little bit on our journey, and from someone as dynamic as you, uh, what do you see the value of an organization like Helm? Because you have a certain perception of us, and I think this is a great spot for us to maybe capture that. Uh, what do you perceive when you first came across Helm, and in all our interactions? There was no pressure.
No,
But
but
yeah.
like honestly, the first time or the first few interactions, I was really enamored by how well spoken I found the founder of Helm to be, and how in very few words you're able to communicate so much more, right? I've always found that fascinating, and I've always cherished the time that we've spent together. And we've had, like, you're younger to me, right? So I push the boundaries sometimes, and I kind of nudge you in the wrong way. And I like that, that kind of banter. I really enjoy that, and it's not something that, I've never thought that there's something in it for a ulterior motive that we are doing it. So whenever we've chatted, we've had really like wonderful heart to heart kind of uh, you know what's the word for it, uncluttered thought process, and it may be cluttered in a particular subject matter that we may be kind of grappling with, but the fact that we have access to people like each other over and above the work related potential, so coming to that, what I feel and my perception has always been that this is a wonderful model, right? The one that you've created and are trying to create and take and scale this to the next level, is that there, in the development sector, in the social enterprise world, there's always a space for articulate intermediaries. I may be solving for too many problems, and I may not be at my articulate best on a given day, but if I have you as a partner, Helm as a partner that understands me not just as a person, but also from a proposition perspective. What is it that I'm trying to do? And the fact that sometimes you're not able to communicate things succinctly, and you use wrong words, and people are very sensitive. So that ability to grapple and solve for and be an intermediary that truly understands both sides of the relationship, I think is the value that you bring to the table. And it's just a matter of time before the right people with the right patience and the right power to right listening power and the attention to the subtle messages that you pass uh, is it's bound to happen. It's just a matter of time. So I feel that you have a wonderful model going for Helm, and you're a charming, wonderful person. uh, and so what's essentially stopping you from scaling this is and you may be already scaling much beyond my current comprehension, is um, the aspiration, right, of the founder. Like, what is it, then who do you partner with? So you, in my view, I perceive of you as somebody like a kid in a candy store, like a boy in a candy store, because this is a wonderful time to be in your shoes, working as an intermediary, linking possible solutions to some of the most pressing problems of the world, that it can get daunting for you, that who should I help, right? Because you're in the job of helping people, and who you help also is something that will come from your own set of ambitions, right? So what is it that you are trying to set up as an objective lens for yourself? And if both the partners align with that, or if they align to what percentage, it's a matter of your choosing, right? So you're in a good place. And you're in a position where you can help cross sectoral teams, right? You're not bound by corporate limitations or limitations of language or NGO structures, or what is the org structure of a government agency. You can cut through all of that in your organization. That's why I feel is a very unique proposition to the development sector, and it could also lend itself to the corporate sector and various sectors, right? So it's just a matter of your will and walking that path. So that would be my
Oh,
2 cents
nice.
on Helm. And yeah,
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Elevates
yeah,
uh, my spirits very, very high with what you've shared. And in time will reveal all the things that we've discovered. I love the wild ones. I love the mischief ones. I love the outliers who are pushing the boundaries of innovation, who are doing work like which is almost like it's irreplaceable. No amount of money can top
exactly.
down buy its way to build the roots and the trust in these communities and with these circles. But absolute delight, Gautam. Thank you so much for your time,
Oh,
and I
thank you so
look
much for
forward
having me,
to
Kiran.
seeing
As
you in
always,
Delhi or in Bangalore whenever. And
100%.
we'll
Yeah,
talk soon.
we'll plan
Pleasure.
something out. All right. Until next
Okay.
time. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.